Well, good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining us. It's a real pleasure to be here. As I look around the room, what's particularly pleasant is to see such a great mix of folks from international corporations, Canadian corporations, entrepreneurs, investors, technologists, policymakers. And I think it's great. We're going to spend today and the better part of tomorrow reflecting, debating, and discussing issues that affect our future and affect innovation in Canada. So thanks very much for coming. I'd like to thank as well the Business Council of Canada and also the Global Corporate Venturing Group for co-presenting today with us. And also, Neil, a big thanks to you and our team at BDC Capital for all the tireless work you've done to get us all together today and pull together such a great agenda. So thank you. Look, so why a Canadian Corporate Innovation Summit? Well, the idea actually goes back to a conversation Neil and I had a while ago. And I just started at BDC. And one of the first things I noticed is there were many instances of VC-backed companies where BDC had invested that exited and were acquired by foreign corporations. And as an unabashed Canadian, I was a bit curious about that. So I dug in a little bit deeper. And at the time, the IPO market was poor, and there weren't many funds out there that were big enough to invest in or acquire these companies. So a corporate buyer kind of made sense as an exit. But I was a bit surprised that there wasn't much involvement on the part of Canadian corporations at the time. And then Neil and I had another conversation. He had just come back from Silicon Valley. He attended an event with 200-odd corporate venturing teams from around the world. And of the 200 at this session, this was the leading, many folks here in the room were probably there, leading corporations doing venture activities. Of the 200, there were 2 from Canada. And Tom, you'll be pleased that OpenText accounted for half of our representation at the time. So Neil and I put these two things together and said, you know, it would be important to come up with a game plan to find ways to help connect corporate Canada to innovation, to innovators, and to entrepreneurs. And all that brings us to where we are today. So at BDC, we're creating a corporate innovation and venturing program, and today's summit represents a kickoff. And what we're about is to find a way over time to connect multiple and easy access points for Canadian corporations to connect with entrepreneurs, innovative companies, and our innovation ecosystem here in Canada. Now, at BDC, we're privileged in the sense that we see an unbelievable amount of innovation in all sorts of shapes and sizes and colors across all of our 42,000 clients from coast to coast. Now, we're the bank for entrepreneurs, and we want to serve as a bridge between those entrepreneurs, between those innovators, and large Canadian corporations. So for a large company, perhaps here today, that's thinking, well, I kind of get it, it's a good idea, but how do I start? Where do I go from today? Let me share with you a few ideas that I'll introduce now, and you'll hear much more about these over the course of today and tomorrow. Now, no doubt the most visible and best way to do this is to set up a venture fund, or at least put in place a dedicated team of individuals whose job is to identify, evaluate, and invest in innovative companies. But there are lots of other ways to start, others that don't involve such a financial commitment. So the first is procurement. Procurement's a huge lever. For the big companies, you can access leading technology, and you can access innovation, and provide opportunities to innovative companies in your ecosystem. For the companies themselves, this is gold, having a contract or selling to a large corporation. And for the corporations themselves, it's also a great way to see around the corner and access innovation and use innovation before others take advantage of it. And here's an example of a simple way that we've seen this work. We call this a collision day. And a collision day is a day where you bring together all sorts of startups to meet with a larger company, and the startups basically pitch their ideas, they pitch their services, they pitch their products. And it's very easy for you folks to be involved. At BDC, we'll go find the startups. At BDC, we'll organize everything. And all you need to do is come meet them. So the price is the price to get there, and the time spent getting exposed to these companies and their ideas. Another example is Communitech. And Communitech has what they call a corporate innovation program. And you can establish a full-time outpost for your company there. Have some of your people sit inside Canada's leading technology hub. It's a huge opportunity. Your people are there full-time. They connect with the entrepreneurs. They connect with the innovators. And we just did this 2 months ago, we set up shop within Communitech. You can see our team, you can see our logo, you can see our space, and it's already paying huge dividends. And the final piece of advice, and something I think is very important for all large companies here today, is to consider adding a person to your board who has direct, hands-on experience in the innovation system. This can have a huge impact in helping you spot new opportunities. And I can think of a few very successful Canadian companies that have reached out and they've got somebody from the Valley or someone from the Kitchener-Waterloo-Toronto corridor to sit on their board. It gives these companies instant access to networks and to opportunities. So my point here is there are a lot more ways to get involved in the innovation around you rather than just taking out a check and setting up a venture fund. I'd encourage you to look into it. So today, we also have the pleasure to announce something very concrete that we're doing to advance the innovation ecosystem in Calgary. So resources companies in the room, take note. At BDC Capital, we're joining with GE Canada and Ryerson Futures to set up a fund to support Zone Startups Calgary. It's an accelerator based in Calgary that's focused on the industrial Internet of Things, cybersecurity, and energy. And this multi-million-dollar fund will help these companies grow and advance their ideas closer to commercialization. Elise will have more to say about this in a couple of minutes. So before I finish, I encourage all of you to think about BDC as a bit of a concierge, a first stop for all of you to find ways to get more involved in accessing the innovation around you. We're not going to charge for a service. We have no vested interest in anything. Our role will be to connect you to the best source of innovation to achieve your needs. So let me just wrap up by saying that I'm so pleased that we have two of Canada's foremost business leaders as our honorary co-chairs for this event. I'd like to thank Elise Allen, President and CEO of GE Canada, and Tom Jenkins, Chair of the Board of OpenText Corporation, for accepting this role and being here with us today. Now, Elise is an extraordinary business leader, a great lady, and someone I've known for a while who's a real champion of entrepreneurship and innovation in Canada. She's one of the most passionate supporters of Canada and one of the most passionate supporters of innovation and growth that we have in the country. Now, Tom is not only the chair of the largest software company in Canada, he's also one of the most involved leaders in the innovation space in the country. And I can't think of anybody in Canada who moves as smoothly and as eloquently and as effortlessly from business strategy to policy as Tom. And I speak as a Canadian, saying that we're fortunate to have his thinking and his contribution continuing to shape policy in this country. So in my mind, we couldn't have found any better chairs for this event than the two of you. So thanks very much. So look, without further ado, I'll hand it over to Elise to take us from here. So please join me in welcoming Elise Allen. Thanks very much.